They'll even frame you for murder. So run for your life. Search for a man who doesn't exist. A secret nobody knows. And start a love affair in an upper berth.
Hello there.
Hey guys, I'm Kevin.
I'm Jake.
And this is Movie Matters. Today we're talking about another Hitchcock film, of course, because it's Hitchcock month. North by Northwest from 1959. Jake, remind me, have you seen this movie?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but this is the first time I'm pretty sure that I've watched it all the way through.
And what are your thoughts?
I liked it. I think the pacing is my only issue, but that aside, it's a pretty great movie.
Okay. Let's go into that right away. Like pacing wise, where do you think it kind of struggles, or what could make it better?
I think, I'd say after he meets Eve, or Eva.
Her name in real life is Eva. Her name in the movie is Eve, which is funny.
Okay. So yeah, right after he meets Eve, it seems to like really drag for me until they get to, or until he gets to the famous plane scene, and then it starts to pick up again. Now, like, I know that they're trying to like develop their relationship and like all that kind of stuff, but like, I felt like that part was a tad too long.
I could see that.
Then you have that plane sequence, which is like unbelievable, that I'm sure we'll talk about. And then it kind of lulls out again until they get to the Mount Rushmore, stuff, or the South Dakota stuff.
Yes.
So, like, I don't know. I mean, it's not like, it wasn't quite boring, but it was close in like those two kind of like lull
I could
segments.
see that. The movie does feel long to me. I mean, it's 2 hours
It feels
and 16
longer
minutes.
than it actually is. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's shot super well. It's edited super well. The acting's great. The dialogue's awesome.
I think part of it is that there's just a lot of content in this movie.
There is.
Plot content, character content, like action, or sequences, there's gotta be like a dozen different locations in this movie at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it feels like it could be like a 2.5 or like even like almost 3-hour movie. But yeah, it's only like, a little over 2 hours.
And I think the movie is like trying hard to be smart, yet it's such a simple plot. And that kind of like, it is almost confusing, the movie, but it's not at the same time. I mean, the basic premise is this guy gets mistaken for a CIA agent, basically, and by, the bad guys, and then the CIA is like, oh, we'll just run with it. Then he could be our scapegoat, and then it's him just getting in the middle of it all. And I don't know, it's an interesting plot. It's a cool plot. And
sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but I think part of the issue is that this movie really actually has two MacGuffins. Where most of his movies just have the singular object, that everyone's chasing. Like this one, the first half of the movie, they're chasing Kaplan, who doesn't really exist. And then the second half of the movie, they're chasing the statue or the microfilm or whatever,
Yeah.
So like, it is kind of like, it's weird because you have to suddenly, like, halfway through the movie, the focus shifts. And like Kaplan kind of goes out the window, and it's not about that anymore. It's about this, microfilm thing. And like, other movies I think do this better. But like, yeah, we'll talk about it more, I'm sure, but like this is kind of the like prototype for like James Bond.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of ways. I think Bond movies handle that type of like attention transition, you know, like much better. And like I think in general, like spy movies have adapted that much better. You know, if you're gonna throw in a twist, you know, like halfway through the movie. But, you know, I mean, like, this is a pretty early, like, espionage movie. It's not the first espionage movie, but it's, you know, up there with probably one of the earliest and most famous. So.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's rated super high on IMDb. It's number 107. It was nominated for 3 Oscars: screenplay, set decoration, which the set design in this movie is insane.
Crazy good.
So good. The film editing's really good. Like the shot of Cary Grant coming out of the United Nations building and like is so insane. Like
the top down view, is wild. The whole house in South Dakota was completely set, like fabricated, which is like unbelievable. And like I'm an architecture nerd, and like they absolutely nailed like all the you know, like architectural style, and like I had read it, they tried to do like a Frank Lloyd Wright style house, and like they just like absolutely killed it. Which a lot of times, like when Hollywood tries to like mimic stuff, it's not that great. But in this case, they really did a good job.
You can tell it's a knockoff.
Yeah.
Like
you can tell like you know, when they actually film at like a real, you know, like impressive house, or they like stage one, you know. So in this case, they did it. The staged version is amazing. So
agreed. Did you catch Hitchcock's cameo in this?
Yeah, again, it was like in the first like 2 minutes.
Where he misses the bus.
He misses the bus. That's what it was.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting trivia on this movie too. There's a lot that I sifted through. So I mean, I think Cary Grant is an awesome actor. I think he's so great in this. He's just so good. Have you ever seen Vertigo from Hitchcock?
That's another one where like I think I may have watched it a long time ago, but was like too young to like appreciate it, you know? So like I don't remember anything of it.
I've never seen it. I own it on 4K, but it's packed away right now. All my movies are in storage, which kind of stinks. But I've been wanting to watch it. So speaking of that, while filming Vertigo, Hitchcock described some of the plot to James Stewart, who he's made a few movies with, and Stewart assumed that Hitchcock wanted him for the role of Roger Thornhill, and he wanted to play the role, and but Hitchcock really wanted Cary Grant for the role, and so by the time Hitchcock realized this misunderstanding, Stewart was so anxious to play Thornhill that rejecting him would have caused like a great deal of disappointment and would have like pissed him off. And so Hitchcock delayed the production on the movie until Stewart was already safely contracted to film another movie, Anatomy of a Murder, before officially offering him the role. And Stewart had no choice but to turn down the offer. And so he's like, oh, okay, sorry. And then he went and cast Cary Grant, which is hilarious, who he wanted all along. So I think that's pretty funny. And Cary Grant was 55 when he shot this. He was old.
Yeah.
And what's funny is his mother in this is like 63 in real life. And so she's like 8 years older than him. And I was watching this with my wife, and she was like, how old are all these people? I think she said that on the last movie we watched. And I'm just like, yeah, they're not that old. And Eve says she's 26. Eva Saint Laurent, I think is her name. Mm-hmm. Or Eva Marie Saint, excuse me. She's says she's 26 in the movie when she was really 34 when she shot the movie. So, kind of funny.
Yeah.
That all these people are trying to act young. But Cary Grant, he runs around and does pretty well for, being 55.
Yeah.
I mean, look at other. It's crazy how older leading men right now still like kick ass, like Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt. You got Nicolas Cage in the new Spider Noir. Have you started watching that?
Not yet. I want to though.
Neither have I. Yeah, I want to watch it too. But Cary Grant was initially reluctant to take the role because of his age, and he received $450,000 for this movie for his salary, which is insane for the time. But he also received $315,000 in penalty fees for having to stay 9 weeks past the time for which his contract called for. But he also got a piece of the profits.
I read that he started charging delay fees before they even started production because they were so far behind.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And so Cary Grant and James Mason, who plays Van Damme in this movie, were considered for the role of James Bond. Grant was actually offered the role of James Bond, but turned it down, which I did not know.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Not to be like... I feel like that just wouldn't work well, going from this movie into that. Because, like...
It's literally, the next...
It's literally, yeah, like...
It's 60, right? Or 61 when Goldfinger came out. Or Dr. No.
I think it's 60.
I think it's 61. 62.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's 62. Because I think the books came out in 60. Or the... Casino Royale came out in 60, I think.
The book.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're doing some
I
research.
looked it up the other night and I already forgot.
53.
Oh, okay. I have my decades mixed up then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, this movie, like you said, this movie inspired a lot of Bond, and there's a lot of callbacks to this movie in certain Bond movies. From what I was reading, I'm not going to name them, but what else did you come across in your research or thoughts about with this in comparison to James Bond?
Yeah, I mean, like, you can just kind of see, like, the action sequences, particularly in the 60s era of Bond, are, like, very similar, at least in style and, like, cinematography style. Using the like, intermixing of, like, actual on-site stunt work with, like, the rear projection stunt work and, like, some miniatures and stuff.
Yep.
But all, like, blended extremely well. A good callback to, the editing in this movie is just, like, really, really awesome.
Yeah, the set pieces are great. I mean, the whole plane sequence is awesome. I mean, it's iconic for a reason. It's so awesome. And then you've got the Mount Rushmore set piece, which is great. The United Nations set piece. Like, there's a whole bunch of great action set pieces. And it's also kind of what we could consider, like, globe-trotting. It's like, multiple, like, locations, kind of like what you were mentioning before.
Which is such a Bond staple.
Yeah, and character gets taken from one spot to another, which is super cool. And that's another spy, Mission Impossible does it.
Yeah.
And, like those movies, like Fast and the Furious movies do it. But a lot of times they do it to satisfy, like, foreign markets. It's like, the movie's taking place here, and now we've got this cast of people from that, destination in it. It's interesting. So.
Yeah, and, like, I think, one of the things that, like, this movie, well, that particularly this and Bond share are that, like, the location changes are not driven by the central character. They're driven by circumstances or, like, chasing a lead or whatever, right? Like, it's almost like Thornhill is always a step behind, and a lot of times Bond is too, trying to figure out, what's going on and stuff like that. Which is why it's, like, more enjoyable when they overcome, the problem or the challenge at the end,
Yeah, and you've got the Bond girl in this is,
Yep.
Eve, which their chemistry is incredible in this movie, in my opinion. And they have such a sexual chemistry that's very reminiscent of Bond as well.
The banter is like so spot on.
Yeah, very sex forward.
Yeah.
My wife kept being like, she's a prostitute, for sure. Which is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, Cary Grant found the screenplay like baffling, and he was so confused by it. And he's like, this is a terrible script. He's like, we've already done a third of the picture, and I still can't make heads or tails of it. Hitchcock knew this movie, or this confusion would help the plot because his character's confused the whole time. And so, I don't know. I think it's... I get it. Again, it's like it's almost confusing, the movie.
Yeah, it's like right on the brink, and yeah, I don't know, because like as the audience, we know more than Thornhill does, I think, at any given point, but barely, barely anymore. So like maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I don't want to knock it for that though.
I know,
because it's engaging. It keeps you wanting to watch the movie,
But it's like also having Eve as like a double agent is kind of like I love that though. I love that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought there might have been a better way to bring that out or something like
her calling, fake calling George Kaplan, and that like kind of sets another thing in motion where, you know what I mean, like that was kind of confusing. It's like she knows, but it's like she doesn't know, and it's like she's playing him. So I don't know.
Or like, I mean, there aren't any breadcrumbs to help you lead yourself to that conclusion. It's just sprung on you, and maybe that's part of it too. But that's kind of, they used to do that in that era of movies. They used to be like plot twist with no, no warning at all whatsoever. So, yeah.
And what's cool is she's almost, Eve is almost like the femme fatale in this a little bit. Like at least,
for sure.
At the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, and like I think that's part of the twist, right? Like, it's almost, she's almost that like you said, femme fatale from film noir, but then like the tone shifts and it becomes more of like, I mean, obviously she's, playing both sides, but she's really a Fed. Well, she's truly a Fed.
CIA, right?
Yeah. Or I don't know. I thought it was funny. I think they call him the professor.
Yeah.
Who's like, he's presumably like the director of whatever agency. We don't know. But
that's true, because it just says intelligence agency. It doesn't really say.
Because I think when him and Thornhill are like walking to the plane, Thornhill says like, so what are you, FBI, CIA? And the guy says like, they're all part of the same alphabet soup or something like that.
Yeah, I like that line.
Which is a great line. But
it is a great line.
And like, I feel like kind of like a very like Hitchcockian kind of thing. Like, it doesn't matter. He's just a shadowy like guy, you know? So like,
and there's also
don't get hung up on the details of, what agency or whatever, right?
Yeah. And there's also the same scene where they're like talking and you can't hear what they're saying over like the planes.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. It's like
very interesting decision.
Yeah.
It's like you can get like little bits of words. So yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're supposed to take away from that though. But
I know. I think it's maybe just like a filming technique to be like, have the viewers be like, all right, what am I missing? Like, pay attention.
Yeah, maybe, like hook you in, like, maybe that's like, like we're coming out of a little bit of a lull, trying to get everybody back on board, or something. But,
I think the villains are really good in this. I totally didn't realize when I first, because I've seen this movie before, but it's been a while. It's been like probably 20 years since I've seen this movie. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I forgot that, I didn't even know that was Martin Landau, who's the one bad
Leonard?
guy in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, he's awesome. Like,
Leonard is an awesome character.
he played him gay, right? From what I was reading.
Oh, really?
He plays him as like kind of homosexual, which is funny because we mentioned that in the last Hitchcock movie, and again, kind of controversial for the time, definitely.
Yeah.
But he played it where he was in love with Van Damme, basically, and that's why he has the jealousy of Eve and like being like, we don't need this woman. So, but what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say that, like, I thought as a, like, the typical henchman character just kind of like says like, is a yes man, and like takes care of the business or whatever. But like, I did like that exchange that they have at the house where he's kind of pushing back on Van Damme, like, do you really trust her? Like, should she really be coming with us? And like, he like pulls the gun on him and pretends to shoot him. Like I thought that was a really cool way to kind of break the like henchman trope. Even though I don't know if it had necessarily been established yet when this movie came out, but comparing him to like Odd Job or something, like Odd Job never challenges Goldfinger, on the plan, or something like that. So I thought Leonard was actually a really good character.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think he's really cool in this role. There's a couple cool things of trivia about him where one day he noticed that Hitchcock was giving instruction to Cary Grant, James Mason, and Eva Marie Saint. And when he asked Hitchcock, he's like, he felt off. He's like, why am I not included in this? He's like, what's going on? Hitchcock was like, if he didn't talk to actors or actresses, they're doing fine. When he talked to them, it was because they did something wrong. So he's like, oh, all right, cool. I didn't do anything wrong. And also, so I want to talk about Cary Grant's suit in this movie. There's a couple of fun things of trivia on that. But Martin Landau, his suits were really nice in this, and they were tailored by Cary Grant's personal tailor. Oh, and neat. There was a Q&A screening, and the reason George Kaplan had to wear the same suit throughout the whole film was to antagonize Grant, because Grant was such a stylish person and always wanted to wear like a really nice suit, but he made him wear the same suit the entire frickin' movie on purpose. And then this further, like, Landau showed up to set in like a nice ass suit, and less than a minute after he arrived the first time, he felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned around to see Grant's personal assistant asking him, "Where did you get your suit?" Which is hilarious because it was Grant's personal tailor. And I feel like that's Hitchcock really doing behind the scenes director work to make, these little quirks, to have these characters interact and it's almost like an antagonistic, like, jealousy role, or like, he's stoking the fire and like really, like, that's really cool. I just love like director, like subtle things like that without saying anything. You do things like that, and it's like Hitchcock was a pro at that, I feel like. Yeah,
get some real world emotion like injected into things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the villains are really good. I like Van Damme. Speaking of the suit was so like iconic that they used it in other movies. One movie in particular, basically, and I always thought it was more because, well, Heat has it, like Macaulay's suit, and then Collateral was with Tom Cruise. I always thought Tom Cruise was like basically because it was Michael Mann and he did Heat. Neil McCauley wears that gray suit with the white shirt, and then in Collateral it's the same thing that Tom Cruise wears. I always thought that they were like off of each other, but it's because of North by Northwest, which is pretty
interesting.
Cool. Yeah. I think the suit's cool. Like, I want one of those.
Yeah, I like a light gray suit like that.
Me too.
It's cool.
Me too. And I love. Let's get to this. I want to get to the scene, the airplane scene, the most iconic scene of the entire movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. Of all time, up there.
Yeah, probably. I'd probably agree. I just love even before that, he's going there to meet George Kaplan, which George Kaplan doesn't exist, but he doesn't know that. And he's got these cars that go by, and he's just like, is it that one? Is it that one? And then a car pulls up, and a guy comes to wait for the bus stop, and he's just like, all right, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to this guy, and this guy's not George Kaplan. And the guy says, oh, the plane's it's like, that's weird. The plane's dusting crops where there ain't no crops. That line is awesome.
Such a good setup, too.
Yes.
Like, because he sets it up with Thornhill kind of like looking over his shoulder at the plane flying in the background, just kind of like as almost like an establishing shot. And then you get, the cars passing by, and then the guy says that line. And that's when, like, it clicks for you, too, that, like, something's wrong, so well crafted.
Agreed.
It's just, perfect.
And then just the plane going after him, and that was a real plane. I mean, and then they obviously did projection and had him on a set, on a studio set, ducking and everything. But in certain areas, that's a real plane. Like, it's so sick. Like, that's so cool. It also reminds me, there's I don't think you ever saw it. I think we mentioned it, or at least I mentioned it before. There's a movie called Wrongfully Accused, which is a parody movie with Leslie Nielsen. That's like in the vein of Naked Gun, and it parodies that, and has like a mini, like a remote control airplane hitting him in the back of the neck and like shaving his hair by accident. Like, it's really funny. You never saw that movie, right?
No.
All right, you got to watch it.
It's on my list. Yeah,
you got to watch it. Maybe we should watch it. We should do a parody month and do Top Secret, and we should do what's the one with it's like Hot Shots maybe, and I'm trying to think of the name for the one with Charlie Sheen that I've sent you a couple clips on. I'll have to look it up.
Is it the one that's parodying the baseball movie?
No. I'm talking like it parodies like Rambo and everything.
Oh.
I'm blanking on the name. Oh, it is Hot Shots.
Okay.
It is hot. There's Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2. We should watch those. We should definitely do that.
Yeah.
That whole scene, is so cool. I think the model of like where it cuts to like the model of the plane crashing into the model truck is kind of funny. But
it's pretty good. It's not like a shitty you can tell, but like it's not like crappily done, and then they blow it up really quick, so it doesn't like matter that much. But
just for a movie being made in '59, again, like I feel like back then these movies would bore me to death, and I'd be like, what's the big deal with them? But like watching them now, I have such a better appreciation for them. Where what's funny is watching this, I'm like, maybe I should give Citizen Kane another shot. But like this movie, I was blown away. I was like, God, this is so well done for '59. Like, yeah. But again, I think it's also helps that we put these movies under a microscope for the most part, and we're examining them, and we're really like focusing on them as much as we can, as as opposed to sometimes just watching a Sunday flick, Yeah. Then I love the scene with the bidding at the auction where he's fucking around, and the reason he's fucking around is to get arrested, which is genius. That's the only way he can get out of there like alive.
Well, and that's such a Bond move too. Like,
I was gonna say that.
Get out of a tight spot by like acting like an asshole, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought that scene was fun. It's funny too. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then that's how he gets out of it. And then it's like that's when the CIA or FBI gets involved with him, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, there's a line he says, which is the title for this episode. I don't deduce, I observe, which is a sick line. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you catch that line? And you're like,
yeah.
I was like, that's such a sick line. And then you find out Eve is a double agent, and I thought that was great. And then her shooting him, like the whole plot, like of him getting shot, is really cool. I thought that was a really cool twist, and I mean, it's kind of obvious that it's that, but I'm sure to like people in the 50s, they were probably, shocked. Yeah. And then you get the Mount Rushmore set piece. I think the whole blanks in the gun is used multiple times, and I think it's used really smart. Like, it's used for faking the death of or like faking the serious injury of George Kaplan, Cary Grant, Roger Thornhill, and then it's used for the not trusting Eve anymore, like you mentioned, and then it's the housekeeper has the same gun or whatever, the lady, and he's like, oh, I realized it was your fake gun after like 20 minutes, which is hilarious.
Well, like it's, and like what's awesome and like genius about that is you have the initial use that's part of the like central like plot advancement, right, with her using it to pretend to kill him. Then you have the callback with Leonard shooting shooting in quotes Van Damme to prove that it was a fake murder, and then he brings it back the third time as a comedic third, which is like super cool, and just awesome. And like that's also, I feel like, a little bit of a Bond thing that they like to do a lot, where like there'll be some like action sequences, and then Bond will do something or like have a one-liner that is like the goofy little Bond moments, particularly in like the earlier movies,
even with like a gadget, like the the antagonist goes to use a gadget and it backfires and hurts them or kills them, like something like that, I think the matchbook where he writes the note on his own matchbook with the ROT is another great writing callback. It's like the O means nothing, which is kind of throws some shade at David O. Selznick. O means nothing, and he's just like, they did the same thing, which is really funny. But him writing that on there and dropping the matchbook right as she turns and she doesn't see it, and then Leonard picks it up and puts it in that like ashtray. I was like, that's so well done. Like, that's so awesome, because it's like you think it's just going to be simple, and it's not. And I love that. And then she sees it, and then it advances the plot. And I love that. And so apparently, while on location in Mount Rushmore, fans would come up to Cary Grant, ask for an autograph, and he would charge 15 cents per autograph. Which is pretty it's pretty funny.
It's funny.
Yeah, well, that'll be 15 cents.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
So why not a round number?
I know.
Like 10 or a quarter,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Pretty interesting. And then like the action sequences at the end where, the Leonard gets thrown off the hill and the other henchmen, they die, and then I mean, what is even on the microfilm though?
No, it doesn't matter. It's the MacGuffin.
Exactly. So, but
yeah, I mean, that's like, part of it I think is, like we said, I think a little bit of the confusion is the introduction of the microfilm. Like, it's a little bit of an unnecessary MacGuffin. Like, he could have just had the end sequence be about him trying to save Eve, and that would have been plenty, you know? But
it's like you also don't know why the CIA is after Van Damme.
Yeah, I mean, right, like, that's not really fully tied up until they introduce the microfilm, and that's the thing that they're, you know, trying to get to nail him or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. I feel like it is a somewhat of a payoff, because it's like, why is there this auction scene? Because like when I was watching that, I'm like, this is going to come back. Again, I hadn't seen it in so long. I was like trying to remember, but it's like, that's obviously going to come back. But you know, then the ending is kind of abrupt though. It just like goes to, but it's a great transition though. That transition of him helping Eve up the Mount Rushmore, and then it transitions to him helping her up into the bed and of the train. He's like, come on, Mrs. Thornhill, which is great. I mean, it's his third marriage. We'll see if it works. But so I don't know if you read this, but the train going into the tunnel is a sexual innuendo. Yeah,
Hitchcock said that in an interview book, I think. Yeah.
That he's basically like, you know, it's intercourse, the innuendo of intercourse, and he considered it one of his finest, naughtiest achievements. And the screenwriter Ernest Lehman, he just said he ended it with the train heads off into the distance, or, you know, to that effect. And he's like, there's no way I can take credit for that tunnel. And he's just like, damn it, it's too good.
Yeah.
So.
No, Hitchcock just wanted to turn it into a penis thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I like this movie. I mean, I think it's great, and it's definitely a great watch, and it's an iconic movie that needs to be seen at least once in your lifetime. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so. I agree. And the only other thing I read that I thought was interesting was that there's like a little bit of like a veiled or like thin like critique of kind of like Cold War espionage and like politics. You know, where like they're after, you know, all this kind of like nonsensical stuff, and like, you know, it's like a very convoluted kind of espionage game, you know, that's being played and stuff. And like I found this exchange on IMDb because it was my favorite like dialogue sequence in the movie. I think this is when they're standing in the woods before or right as Thornhill learns that Eve is gonna fly off with Van Damme, if like for good. So Thornhill says to the professor, I don't like the games you play, Professor. And the professor answers, war is hell, Mr. Thornhill, even when it's a cold one. Thornhill responds, if you fellows can't lick the Van Dammes of this world without asking girls like her to bed down with them and fly away with them and probably never come back, perhaps you ought to start learning how to lose a few Cold Wars. And the professor says, I'm afraid we're already doing that. I thought that was an awesome line.
It is. That whole sequence is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's written really well, this movie.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it's just a great movie, and it's a classic Hitchcock movie. It feels very different than the other two Hitchcock movies we've watched.
Yeah, and you know, like I feel like he's more known for like straight up murder investigation kind of movies or horror. And like this is a very different, you know, this is like thriller and it's not quite a crime movie, but it's kind of like a dramatic thriller and like action movie. You know, it's like, yeah, it does have a very different feel, but still has all those like Hitchcock kind of like elements, you know, kind of woven throughout. So yeah. I'm glad we're throwing it in this month because it's definitely deserving.
Yeah, and I feel like he's eclectic in his, like, we've got Psycho next, which is so different from this, and it came out a year later, and I'm excited to get into it because I haven't seen that movie in a long time as well. So, yeah, I'm super excited for that. I'm glad we watched this, and we'll catch you next week with Psycho.
Yeah, see you.
See you guys.